I can certainly hear you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're gonna get started here. Share my screen. Okay, is everything looking great there on the presenter mode?
Yeah, everything looks fantastic.
Okay, perfect. So we're gonna get started. First off, I would like to thank OFPA for this great opportunity. I had a great experience participating in a panel discussion last year during the Spring Technical Summit meeting with other women food safety leaders. I'm excited to be back here again as a keynote speaker. So we're going to get started with a quick introduction about Ferrara, the organization that I work for. All right, awesome. So Ferrara is #1 leader in non-chocolate seasonal confections. Some of our brands, as you've seen in the video, include Sweethearts, Black Forest, Brach's, Nerds, and Churley. I know Jessica already did my introduction, so I'm just going to skip through this. But basically, I have over 15 years of quality and food safety experience in the industry. Prior to joining Ferrara, I held various food safety and quality roles across protein and confectionery manufacturing. This brings us to the agenda. This webinar will focus on building foundational elements for achieving sustainable food safety management system. And we will kick off with the why. Why should you care? Why is food safety management system, why is it critical? And why are we talking about it today? Followed by discussing what are the food safety fundamentals, and next, sharing best practices on tools that support and strengthens the food safety fundamentals to achieving sustainability. Then we wrap it up with key takeaways before opening it up for Q&A. As Jessica mentioned, we would like to wait till the end before answering the questions so that we can manage the flow and save time. Getting started with why. What is the why? The chart here shows the breakdown of food allergen recalls by, food recalls by category during the year 2022, according to FDA database. According to the data that retrieved from FDA, as you can see here, allergens and pathogens are the top leading causes, or were the top leading causes in 2022, representing about 85% of the total recalls. And similarly, 2023, we are halfway through the year, and allergens and pathogens continue to be the top leading causes of food recalls, even trending much higher than in 2022. As you can see, the consequence of not having a strong foundation for food safety management system is very costly. Food recalls not only involve the financial cost, but also the reputational cost or damage that could be irreversible. Additionally, recalls disrupt the food supply chain and divert food safety professionals' attention away to firefighting and take up time that should have been spent on continuous improvement initiatives. No organizations or food safety professionals want to experience any of this, and hence it is critical to ensure food safety continues to be a top priority. It is our obligation to the customers, it is our obligation to the consumers, and it is our obligation to the food supply chain at large. And this brings us to the next discussion on food safety fundamentals. Sustainable food safety management system starts with management commitment. Management commitment to doing the right things. The right things include, but not limited to, capital allocation and provision of other resources such as appropriate headcount, training and education, just to mention a few. When management commits to doing the right things, this sets a solid foundation for successful implementation of the prerequisite programs and ultimately ASAP and preventive controls. These are tools that strengthens or supports the fundamentals to achieve sustainable food safety. And when we achieve sustainable food safety, what does this mean? We are consistently manufacturing safe food products for consumers. In turn, organizations stay in business and employees keep their jobs. This is the shareholder value. And deep diving into the tools, so starting with the first one, process within the prerequisite programs and prerequisite programs and preventive controls. And secondly, people. Process is only as strong as the implementation and consistently implemented and consistently followed by people. Then we have the third bucket here, technology. Technology bridging the gap between process and people. Technology is an enabler that helps to do things faster and better. A deep dive into each of these tools, starting with process. As you can imagine, there are a lot of processes within the food safety management system, but for the purpose of this webinar, I will focus on these four based on what we've seen as the recall trends shared earlier. The first one is the ingredient hazard analysis. Second one, sanitary design standard. Third, environmental monitoring program. And the fourth one, allergen management program. It is worth mentioning that validation of these systems is very critical to ensure effectiveness. Risk assessments is a very, very important concept in food safety. Risk assessment is a very important concept in food safety. I'm repeating myself to emphasize its importance in the industry. Appropriate risk level has two main components. One, the likelihood of occurrence and the severity of the food safety hazards. Conducting a robust risk assessment involves several steps, and some of these steps include asking the right questions, reviewing appropriate data and information, deep dive into historical data, and also utilizing digital tools such as Horizon Scan, food fraud databases, and also, in the case of the US, reviewing FDA Appendix 1 to make sure the assessment is robust. Because implementing adequate preventive controls depends on accurately determining the food safety hazards and appropriate risk level associated with the ingredient, process, and environment. This is part of the routine practices in FARA to approving new ingredients and suppliers. And the next process here is sanitary design standard. Sanitary design standard provides the guidelines for design and construction of buildings, infrastructures, and equipment to promote cleaning effectiveness, cleaning efficiency, and prevent cross-contamination of food products. As you can imagine, equipment designs are unique for different product or process applications. For example, equipment designed for meat and poultry processing is different from that of confectionery. the different type of product profile, its different cleaning requirements. All these have influence on the material of construction, equipment assembly, and equipment layout. I would also like to mention and stress here that early involvement and cross-functional collaboration is very key to successful and consistent implementation. Also very important to mention that assessments have to be in place at the equipment manufacturer site and during installation at the facilities with appropriate sign-offs. Appropriate sign-offs including engineering, quality, food safety, and operations. The assessment at the equipment manufacturer sites and during installation at the facilities are what is commonly known as the FAT and the SAT process in the industry. Moving on to the environmental monitoring program. Interesting enough, I've heard a lot of people say they've never had a positive pathogen hit in their facilities. This could be a positive thing, but it could also be a good thing because the questions remain, are they swabbing enough? Are they swabbing the right location? Or are they using the right type of swabs? Or are they swabbing using the right method? A robust environmental monitoring program must be risk-based, considering factors such as age of the building, age of the facility, age of the equipment, the type and nature of the product or the type of processing, hygienic zoning, and also historical data. The amount of swabs taken and the frequency of swabbing must be appropriate for the risk level defined. One other key aspect of environmental monitoring program that I'd like to talk about is hair monitoring. Hair monitoring of the processing areas and surrounding areas to determine potential or identify potential airborne risk is very, very important. Equally important for environmental monitoring program to be successful is consistently tracking and trending to determine the hotspots and implementing promptly appropriate corrective actions. We utilize digital platform predictive analytics to automatically randomize the swabbing locations and automatically track and trend. Allergen management. Allergen recalls could occur due to cross-contact or exposure and undeclared allergens on product labels. As I've indicated here, it is very essential to have allergen management, comprehensive allergen management, end-to-end from ingredient sourcing to finished product distribution. As I've shown here, these are examples of verifications, assessments, or controls under each of the steps throughout the production cycle. And these include, but not limited to, major allergen declaration requirements for all suppliers, segregated production, processing, and storage areas, validated allergen cleaning, and verification using rapid in-house allergen testing kit or third party. Also, the products of formula verification, the label verification, and the positive release. These are very, very important. Just like the validation, it's not a one and done. It's recommended to consistently validate when you have new processes or you introduce new ingredients in your facility. You validate to make sure that the cleaning in place is still very effective, and if you need to make any changes to it. And now we're moving on to technology. I mentioned earlier that technology bridges the gap between process and people. It's an enabler that facilitates effectiveness and efficiency of food safety management system. There are various digital platforms, food safety digital platforms in the industry that's being utilized for food safety, food fraud, risk assessment. These are examples of some of these platforms that can be used for those assessments, supplier management, data analytics, and even foreign material investigation. I encourage you to research these platforms and explore their applications to your processes. I've listed here some of the benefits of technology, and I would also like to emphasize that technology does not replace process and it does not replace people, but it facilitates. So it's very important to put in the right data so you can get the right output that can inform of decision making to improve your food safety management system. And now we're going to take a short break to refresh our knowledge on the information presented so far. Our quality specialist, Britton, will moderate this for us, and we'll come back to review the rest of the slides after. Britton, take it away.
Give me just a moment to get the screen ready. All right, can everyone see the Kahoot game?
Yeah, we can see it.
Perfect. All right, so the ask here, Kahoot, if you're not familiar with this system, it's kind of an interactive way to play games. So we're going to be testing your food safety knowledge today. So you can either use your phone and scan the QR code up there to enter your name, or you can go to www.kahoot.it.com and enter the game pin. And once it looks like we have all players present, we'll begin the game. There's 10 questions. There's a couple of different question types. You'll see polls, you'll see multiple choice, you'll see true and false questions. And the prize is bragging rights. So have fun. I'll give it about another minute or so for people to keep joining in case you're having any difficulty. Captain America. That's gotta be Jody. I'm gonna see if that one person that jumped off is gonna jump back on, and then we'll get started. So let's hear. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. All right. Captain America is in the lead. Heather taking second. Excellent. Everyone got that one right. You're paying attention. Captain America is still in the lead. Oh no, is it lagging? What? Good. Very good. I don't know, Captain America just has quick fingers. This answer or this question, just type in your answers. It is not a true or false or pick an answer type of question. Yeah. It's a little creepy.
What is it?
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, let's see what everyone said. All right, trace gains, top answer. That makes sense. Neogen, SAP, metal detectors, X-rays, XRF. Someone's a student. Mixed reality, that's interesting. Maximo, TrueView. Unfamiliar with that one, but these are all great answers. Thank you guys for participating. There are a couple more questions left. So let's keep going. No. All right, yes. Allergens, pathogens, and physical hazards like metal shavings are all food safety hazards. Absolutely. Cross-functional collaboration is essential to achieving an integrated food safety management system. Nice job, everyone. Captain America still in the lead. Yep, as we mentioned previously, likelihood and severity are how you calculate the overall risk value and are the two components for determining the food safety hazard risk level. Whole question here. I think you'll have 3 choices. Now, this was a bit of a trick question. There was no right or wrong answer. Of course, people, processes, and technology are all important in an effective and sustainable food safety management system. But the key here was just, we wanted to figure out what you guys thought, was most important to you personally. So it seems like most people pick people. I think personally, I would also pick people. No one went for technology, which not surprising. Technology is only as good as the people using it. So that checks out. And for this word cloud, just type in your responses. Again, no right or wrong answers here. We're just looking for what preventive controls you have in place in your own facility. Nice. These are all great. A lot of them are things that we do in our own facilities to prevent allergen cross contact. I don't know what train ninja really means here, but if it works for you and you're a ninja between your processes, that's great. But yeah, these are great answers. Last question here. And then we'll figure out who won. Yep, food safety is everyone's responsibility, and everyone got that right, which is amazing. You're paying attention. All right, who got third place? Day of service. Second place, Irem. And first place, Captain America. Congratulations, all of you, and thank you everybody for participating in the Kahoot quiz. I hope that it was a fun way to break up the presentation, and I hope you enjoyed it. And remember, this is your bragging rights. That's what you get, Captain America, bragging rights. All right, we'll meet back to you.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you found that fun. We're going to proceed, yes. Okay, so this brings us to the next discussion on people. If you can remember at the beginning of the presentation, I highlighted that senior management or management commitment is very fundamental to achieving sustainable food safety management system. When management do the right things, then people can do things right. Do your people understand the what, the why, and the how of food safety management system? Conduct a competency gap assessment to identify the knowledge deficit and develop a training plan based on the gaps identified, including regular refresher training to remediate. This is very, very important. Also very important is involving and engaging people to foster collaboration and sense of ownership. I can't stress this enough. And other key aspects, which also I would like to emphasize, is empowering people to speak up and take actions. This is one of our quality promise guiding principles here at Ferrara. And we take employee recognition seriously. We have various ways of doing that. We have a public shout out. We also have earning and redeeming points for purchases on digital platforms. Also, we give out swag. So various ways you can do this, but these are very key components to ensure that your people, they are in tune with the food safety management system and they continue to be that integral part to ensure that sustainability. And this brings us to the discussion on breaking down silos. Food safety is an integrated approach. Everyone working together to achieve the same goal. It is the responsibility of everyone in the organization, regardless of function. These are examples of forums or activities you can utilize to elevate food safety across different levels of functions in your organization. Remember, it is a top-down and bottom-up approach, whichever way you can think of to make sure you integrate every function in the organization to have their buy-in. I really encourage you to start implementing that today. And we have the food safety KPIs before we get to the summary here. Now, we've talked about the process, we've talked about people, we've talked about technology, which are tools that strengthens and supports the fundamentals to achieving sustainable food safety. But there has to be continuous monitoring of measuring effectiveness to make sure the food safety management system is working as intended. These are some of the food safety KPIs you should track and trend and routinely review at various management levels. Starting with the confirmed internal findings, these includes metal, non-metal, and also focusing on the leading indicators. Also the food safety preventive maintenance, then have the guidelines for investigation and what are the escalation protocol. Then of course you continue to track and trend, so you identify the drivers and put in place corrective actions. And the next one here is the MSS completion rate. I mentioned earlier the sanitary design standard, which promotes cleaning effectiveness, cleaning efficiency, and prevents cross-contamination of food products. You have to have a measure of effectiveness of your cleaning effectiveness. MSS completion rate is one of it. Are you cleaning your equipment as defined, or are you even cleaning them appropriately? What are the repeat cleaning? What are the failures you're having? Then the next one here is the EMP. I mentioned earlier the environmental monitoring program. Tracking the pathogen heat is very, very important to make sure that you are implementing the EMP appropriately as defined by the risk level. What are the number of repeat failures that you're having? And also vector, the vector swabbing is also very important as a corrective action. What is vector swabbing? Vector swabbing, that you are identifying where you get your pathogen heat and you move several feet away from there and you do your spiral swabbing. That helps to identify other potential areas beyond the areas where you have the pathogen heat that could be a potential sources of microbial contamination. And of course, your first time right. It's very important to track this. You want to know the number of repeat non-conformances. You want to know what's the frequency you're getting this, and that will also impact the rework and the downtime in your facilities, which ties directly with the cost of poor quality. So all these food safety KPIs, they are very important because you continue to monitor effectiveness and you implement appropriate changes or continuous improvement initiatives if you identify any gaps in your system. And that takes us to the conclusion and summarizing the information that I've presented so far. The first one here is strong foundation is very key to achieving sustainable food safety management and brand integrity. I mentioned earlier, when you consistently manufacture safe food products, meaning organization stay in business, recalls are prevented, that's the brand integrity, and you create that shareholder value when you stay in business and the employees keep their jobs. And the second point here is it is the responsibility of everyone, regardless of role in the organization, for food safety. And the third point, food safety is not a one-size-fits-all. It's not a one-size-fits-all. Assess the risk unique to your ingredients, to your processes and environment, and implement appropriate validated preventive controls. And the last point here, before I wrap up, is food safety hazards and best practices continue to emerge in the industry. Keep up with this and focus on continuous improvement initiatives. So this is the end of the presentation. I hope you all found the information insightful and valuable. Thank you all for listening. Jessica.
Thank you so much, Wumi. That was fantastic. The information that you provided was really valuable, and I absolutely loved the Kahoot game. I think that was a really great way to break things up and make sure that we're all paying attention. So we do have some time for some questions. I know I've got a couple, but I'm gonna, in the essence of time, open it up to the rest of the audience first in case they've got some questions. And I do see that Mohammed has a question. You've got your hand up, so if you want to unmute your mic and go right ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Mohammed. I'm here in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I have one question about this sustainability because sustainability is now in every sector. So as we are in food sector, so how we can implement this type of systems, sustainability systems, like nowadays there's packaging should be sustainable, other things should be sustainable. So how we can implement this type of sustainability elements in our food system? Like we are in QSR sector, we have restaurants, we have storage and distribution, we have transportation systems. So how we can integrate all these elements to ensure and implement these type of elements in our system?
Thanks for the question, Mohammed. So the packaging sustainability, that is completely different topic. The sustainability I'm referring to here is in terms of the consistency. Consistency when you implement it each time correctly. And so that's the sustainability I'm referring to. But in terms of the packaging, we also have a separate department here ensuring that we have sustainable packaging, and even beyond that, even the environment and all that. So it's not the main focus for this conversation, but it's part of our overall programs that we have in Farah.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions for Wumi? Either just put your hand up, or if you want to type in the chat, that would be okay as well. And while we're waiting for that, I actually have a question for you, Wumi. So we talked about, or you talked about technology and using technology as a tool to improve food safety systems. And there's so much out there, and you did give a few examples of some technology that can be used. I'm just wondering if a site or a facility is, they're at this point not using any technology at all, or very, very base level, and they're looking to implement, one thing to add value and to make things more consistent. What do you think would be either the program or the subject that you would think would add the most value in terms of technology? So would it be, supplier management? Would it be temperature monitoring? What do you think kind of gives the biggest bang for the buck?
Thanks for the question. The biggest bang for the buck. They're all
It's a tough
important.
question,
I'm just
I know.
thinking about it. Yeah, because supplier management is broad. It's supply chain continues to be complex, as you know, and you need that tool, digital technology, to help you navigate all of that, right? So supplier management comes to mind because it's very, very, very complex. But also, risk assessment is also very important because you need something that will enhance your agility. And technology does that for you. And I can't even forget about data analytics as well. You need something that will help you to quickly track and trend and make you make an informed decision. So that's a tough question, Jessica, because they are all very important. But I would like to stress why technology is very important. I mentioned earlier, what you put into it is very important as what you get out. So you need to have that baseline. You need to have everything in place so that you give quality data as input, and you get quality data out as output.
Excellent. Great. Thank you. So before I ask my next question, I'll just give a minute for others to jump in if they'd like to. I don't want to take up all the time. Okay, so the next question I have for you, Wumi, is it's more of a discussion point, I suppose. How do you think that internal audits fit into all of this? And how important do you think it is to have and I'm kind of leading you with the question, but how important do you think it is for internal audits, and how much of these sort of non-conformities and whatnot do you think would be caught if we were implementing really great internal audit programs? And do you have any tips on how to do that?
Absolutely. Internal audit is a very, very important tool. It's a very, very important tool because it helps with gap assessment. If you remember, when I was talking about people, I mentioned something about competency gap assessment, but that's for people. You also need to do similar audits for your processes to understand the gaps and to see what are the repeat failures, where are the drivers. That's where internal audit comes into play. So internal audit is very, very important, and it has to be very robust, meaning you have to train your internal auditors, identify the people that will serve as internal auditors and give them training, empower them to be able to do it. Because we know all the, characteristics of a good internal auditor. They have to put the hat of an outside auditor on so that they are really not biased and making it in-depth as much as possible. So it's very important, just as you have competency gap assessment for your people, internal audits is the one in place for the process to help you identify where are the gaps in your process so you can do your implement continuous improvement initiatives. What are the drivers? Where are the areas where you continue to have repeat non-conformances? So that's where internal audits is helpful. So we don't rely on third party coming into our facilities to give us non-compliance before we sit tight.
Yeah.
But internal audits help us to be audit ready.
Excellent. Okay, that's great. So we do have a question in the chat, and I think it's directed at you, Wumi, but I can also add to the answer. So the person's asking, do you provide consultation regarding creating sustainability strategy or framework for companies? So are you doing any consulting on the side?
Thanks for the question. I consult for my company. No, I'm not consulting. I'm a full-time employee of Ferrara. I'm not providing consultation at this point.
Yeah, there are, I would have to say, though, there are lots of companies that do provide consultation for companies. We've got, I know of a couple, definitely. We've got one who is on the OFPA, actually, Lumar, and there's lots of other ones out there. So if you do need some help looking for that, you can contact us at OFPA and we can kind of point you in the right direction. So we do have another question. I'm a food safety and quality management student here in Toronto. What are some key points to reduce deviations in food safety management systems? That's a big question.
Yes, I love that question. So the first thing first is actually understanding. I mentioned that process is only as good as the implementation and consistently followed by people. If you have a process, number one, when developing it, getting the buy-ins from people that will actually implement it and other cross-functional teams is very, very key to make sure that people really understand the what, the why, and the how of the process, because that will help in making sure that they are consistently implementing it. That's very important. And that's why the competency gap assessment is very important, so that once you identify the gaps in the process, it does two things. Number one, you're going back to the process to see maybe there is something in the procedure that's not right, or people don't even understand it. Then two is maybe people don't really understand it and you need to retrain again. So that's what I'm going to stress about that. Get into the basics of making sure when you're developing the process, you involve the right people so that there is clarity. If there are any questions before implementation, you incorporate that into it, you make the changes before that. Also, continuous review of your processes is very important. There are trends in the industry all the time. So when you're reviewing, if there are any trends in the industry, you go back to your process, go back to the drawing board and implement the changes.
Great. So hopefully that answers that question. Yep, he said thank you very much. That's great. And also my colleague Ellen has put the email address, our email address in there for anybody who is looking for tips on consultants. So it's info@ofpa.on.ca. So thank you so much for that, Ellen. I do have another question. Oh, Ellen's got her hand up. So go ahead, Ellen, first.
Alrighty.
Ellen, you're on mute.
Oh, it was such a fantastic question. So that's my signature question. If you have a superpower, like you're like the goddess of food safety, and you go into a new company, absolutely new, like their system are not in place, what would be the first thing you do besides a gap assessment?
The first thing to do for me, it starts with management commitment. And I think I mentioned that early on, because implementing all these systems and all of that requires a lot of time and also resources. They are very key. So how critical it is, or is the food safety mindset even there for the management commitment, for the management to commit to doing the right things? Because if you're implementing all these processes and you don't have appropriate resources to implement it and sustain it, then there is a problem. So that's the first thing I would do, to understand if the management is committed and they actually understand the goal that's being achieved, or that they're striving to achieve in terms of sustainable food safety. So the management commitment is the first thing that I would do, to understand if the management is committed in terms of the time and in terms of the resources.
Great. Thanks, Wumi. And we do have another question from Michael. He is a public health inspector in Ontario and wants to know, what is the relationship / communication with facility / industry management and regulatory inspectors from governmental authorities?
Thanks for that question, Michael. I will answer that from the point of view in the US.
Yes,
not really sure it works in Canada, but I know CFIA, they work closely with Food Drug Administration, FDA as well. So here in the US, we have a lot of regulatory bodies. We have the Food Drug Administration, FDA, and we have the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture. So there is a relationship. I mean, it starts with, first, an FDA inspector can come into your facility at any time to ensure compliance, or maybe it's a for-cause investigation. Then also there are a lot of guidelines out there that regulatory bodies have to guide the manufacturing facilities on what they need to do to comply. Like recently, FDA just released guidelines on allergen monitoring and compliance, which they release for manufacturing facilities to start looking at, to understand the gaps in their systems, and to set expectations on, when FDA inspectors come to inspect the facilities, the actions that they can take. So there is that relationship, and that's what I can say about that. And they release guidelines, and expectation is the inspectors can come into your facility at any time to ensure compliance, or they can go in if there is a need for it. Maybe they are investigating a report from someone. So that's that. They continue to support the manufacturing companies on what they need to know to ensure sustainable implementation of food safety management system.
Excellent. That's great, Wumi. Thank you. So we've got about 3 minutes left. And before everybody starts to jump off, I do want to make sure that we take a screenshot, because that's what we do on our OFPA webinars. We ask everybody to please turn their cameras on. So Wumi, if you wouldn't mind unsharing your screen, and we'll get everybody to turn their cameras on. And my colleague Darmdeo is going to take a screenshot for us so that we can post on social media, if that's okay with everybody. Oh,
sorry, I'm not used to Teams. Am I still sharing?
That's okay. You're still sharing.
Okay, I've seen it. Hold on. Okay, I got it.
There we go. And if you're shy and you don't want to turn your camera on, that's fine, but we really would love to see your face. So we'll give it a couple more minutes, and then Darmdeo, I'll ask you to go ahead and take that screenshot. So you let us know when you're ready, Darmdeo.
I'm just waiting on everybody. Awesome. This looks great. Yeah, I got you guys. Maybe we can take one more where you guys all smile.
Sure.
That'll be awesome. Nice, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so again, thank you everybody for joining us today. Really great to have you on the webinar, and I'm sure that you learned as much as I did. Thank you, Wumi, so much for sharing your knowledge and your expertise with us. We're really happy you were able to join us today and take the time out of your day. And thank you. Is it Britton? Is that how you say your name? Yeah, thank you so much for your collaboration on the Kahoot game. So everybody enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully we'll see you at the next webinar.
Thanks so
Great
much,
job, Wumi.
Jessica, and the entire OFPA team. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.